All right, you're back. It's my podcast. I'm back. Actually, I love this podcasting thing so much that I almost want to do it every week. My team feels like, PA, you got to listen. Every other week, let's do a podcast. But I'm back, and it's just me. I'm by myself today. I will have guests in the future, but right now, it is me, my podcast, and I'm super excited for everyone that may be watching, listening in, whatever. Welcome to my podcast. Today's podcast is going to be things that annoy me, stuff that's just annoying to me, things that I'm just like, I can't believe it. Okay, the first thing in my mind, number one, is, currently, right now, this whole Harvey hurricane storm, I feel like, how is it that we did not learn our lesson from Hurricane Katrina? Katrina is so devastating, and now here we are dealing with the same issues. We have a government entity, their job is disaster. Isn't that their job? How can you say, well, we didn't think the disaster was going to be this bad? That's your job. Your job is to be prepared for the worst thing that could happen. Yesterday I was watching just watching the news footage and looking at the interviewing people that are in a convention center and how they're just, it's amazing to me how unprepared we are for the storm. And it's not like we've never had storms before. It's not like we don't have helicopters and choppers and water and money. How are we back at this place again? How is it that we have an organization, a government-funded organization whose job is disaster, and they're not prepared for the disaster? Be ready for a disaster 10 times what it could be so that you are prepared for a disaster. I'm bothered by it. My heart goes out to everybody that's been affected by it, and I've got friends, buddies, that pastor churches in the area, and I'm trying to make sure guys are all right, and they're trying to help, and they're trying to support, and certainly our church is having conversations about the things that we can do, but it's amazing to me, just this particular situation, and I almost hesitate to talk about it because different people feel different certain ways about it, but I feel like with the taxes we pay in the country, this is what the government's for. This is what insurance is for. This is what all of our might. We are spending all this time talking about building a wall to keep Mexicans out, and we still haven't gotten these levees right. We still haven't gotten these walls right. You're talking about caring for Americans and making America great, and we have thousands of people that have been displaced by something that the storm sure is the storm, but how we're so busy talking about North Korea and their bomb and how far they can shoot it and can we defend it, and we can't keep water out. We can't keep rivers from killing people. It's amazing to me. It's just annoying. And I'm not trying to be offensive. I think one of the things that's really cool about the podcast and that's interesting to me is that and it's something else that can bother me because I don't really care about being controversial. At the same time, it's very interesting. As a pastor of a church, on the one hand, to some extent, it's almost like the controversy, someone like me that may talk about something that's controversial or may have an opinion or a feeling or a sense of something that's maybe a bit controversial. On the one hand, that's a good thing. It's what you guys want to hear. It's what people want to listen to. At the flip side of it is that you are concerned as a leader about offending the wrong group. I don't want people to have to kind of walk into church through people picketing, that's kind of my worst dream scenario is for someone for people to be angry with what I've said so much that it makes it difficult for the church to be the church. It's just a challenging thing. That's something else that's annoying to me. I'm trying not to be bothered, but I'm bothered. I asked my sons yesterday. We were having a conversation, and we started talking about just the school, and their juniors in high school, and kind of where we are right now and what's going on. And as I listened to my sons talk, I'm so annoyed. I'm so bothered by where we are, especially when it comes to family and relationships. There was a time when I was growing up. I'm sorry, maybe I sound like an old man, and it's just the nostalgia of it. But when I was young, you had to have some game. You rolled on a chick, you had to have something to say. Roxanne, Roxanne, I want to be your man. Educated rapper, I don't think that you're dense, but you went about the matter with no experience. You should know, she doesn't need a guy like you. She needs a guy like me with a high IQ. It was like when you approached a chick, you had to have something to say. You had to know who you were. You had to have your lines together, especially if you weren't very good looking. You had to have it together. I mean, if you was kind of halfway cute, then you see a girl looking at you, and you kind of knew you was almost already in. But if you was an ugly dude, you really had to have some game. You had to have something to say. You had to be able to put some lines together, and you had to know, you had to have some game. And what happened to the dudes with game? Where are the guys with game? The guys with game. We're at a point now where guys don't even have to have game anymore. It's amazing to me how aggressive women are when it comes to the relationships. It's incredible to me that when I first had these sons, I was just kind of thinking about, hey, I have daughters and I've got my sons, and I was so ready to closely guard my daughters against crazy dudes, and just kind of feeling like, oh, my sons are going to be straight, they're going to be good. But now my boys are 17, and I'm hearing my boys talk more about crazy women than I ever heard my daughter talk about crazy dudes. And not to say that dudes don't have issues, they do, but we are at a point now where this thing has turned all the way around, and it is literally out of control. It really is. It's a sad situation, and I'm wondering, who will my sons actually be able to find a long-lasting relationship with? If everybody is going to be do you feel like, is it inappropriate? I mean, I say it from the pulpit. I might as well say it in my podcast. It's me. I'm being real. The hoization, the pressure on every chick to just be. I was talking to my sons last night, and they were saying to me, they're saying, Dad, it's either there are girls who are it's like they are hoes and they know it, and it's like they've just embraced hoedom. They've embraced it. They have decided, this is who I am, and I'm just having fun with it, and that's just what it's about. And they said, and then there are girls who it's like, that's not necessary. And he said, even the girls that they know that there's something not good about it, but still it's like, hey, I'm young, I'm having a good time. Hey, this is what I'm doing. And then there are the girls who it's almost like that's what they feel like they have to be that way. There's a pressure to be that way. And there's a pressure to be that way so that they can get a dude, because the market has been flooded. It's amazing. There was a time when chastity and having a sense of yourself, recognizing how valuable you were, it was an important thing to do. And men and women, we just have lost our sense of value. We have lost the value of intimacy. We have lost how special. It's almost like it's become so common that we're no longer focused on how special it is. And that's sad to me. I think it's a sad thing when something that is valuable becomes common. It makes it just, the market is flooded with it, and it becomes less valuable. And something's missing. Something is going to be missing from our world, from our society, from our culture. And I don't want us to lose love. You know, and whoever hears this, whoever sees this, you may understand my heart. It's not to offend. It's to say we can't lose love. We can't lose the value of family. We can't lose the value of the long-term commitment. It's got to be deeper than that. We have got to find a way for the relationship to be lasting and connective, that we may be attracted because of Thompson. We may be attracted because of the looks, but the thing that keeps us together, that love thing, if you don't hear anything else, my heart is that love be something that we keep. Without love, life is not worth living. And not to say that that a sexual relationship that is fulfilling is not important, but love is an important thing. I've kind of got a new analogy that I haven't really shared, and I haven't really shared it with the congregation yet. And y'all are getting it first right here on my podcast. For everybody who is wondering about how to really find a lasting relationship. I've done so much on marriage and family and dating and relationships, and I've been married for over 26 years. And so I've done quite a bit on it. And I think especially today, let me give you this analogy really quickly before I run out of time with my moments here. I feel like one of the beginning truths that we all have to focus on is that everyone needs to be molded. Everyone needs to be molded. Everyone. Nobody's perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect guy. There's no such thing as a perfect woman. Does not exist. If you're out there looking for the perfect chick, you're in trouble. If you're waiting for the perfect guy to come, you're doomed. There is no such thing as a perfect guy. There is no such thing as a perfect woman. What everybody, especially, even if you found someone perfect, when you bring them together in a relationship with you, their imperfections are going to come out, not just because they're really not perfect, but also because when they come together with you, who you are, who they are and who you are, once you mix the two of you together, then your expectations and their expectations, what it takes for them to be happy, what it takes for you to be happy, you are now going to have to mold each other. There's going to be some work that you're going to have to do with each other. And so flexibility is the key. I'm saying to people all the time, it's not about trying to find a perfect woman. It's about the ability to find a flexible woman. And I don't mean just physically flexible. I mean flexible, although that's good too. But I mean flexible. It's not about finding a perfect guy. It's about finding a flexible guy. That true strength is not seen in rigidity. It's seen in flexibility, adaptability. Can the person adapt? Because both people are going to need to be molded. When you take into account that molding is going to be a factor in the relationship, then you realize that your search, and hear me, that your search is a continual evaluation of, is this crap or is this clay? That is the question. Is she clay or is she crap? Is he clay or is he crap? Clay can be molded. Crap cannot. The more you work with clay, I don't know if you've ever worked with clay. I remember when I was a kid, they made almost everybody work with clay. When you were in a little elementary school, they gave you some clay. If you remember, clay took work. You had to pound the clay. You had to knead the clay. You had to push on the clay. Before you went to shaping your ashtray or shaping your bowl or shaping whatever you were going to give your mama, you had to work it first. You had to pound it first. You had to get all the air bubbles out of it, because if you didn't get the air bubbles out of it, when you put it in the kiln, when you put it in the oven, it would explode. So we had that experience of working with clay. The challenge of it is that when you first get a piece of clay, it looks like crap. So clay can look like crap, and crap can look like clay. So when you look at someone, you're not really sure. Are they clay or are they crap? Do they need to be molded or are they just a piece of Are they clay or are they crap? Are they something that can be molded or are they just doo-doo? Is that a clay thing to do or is that just a crap thing to do? Because crap cannot be molded. Clay must be molded and fashioned and shaped. And so the real question is he crap? Is he a piece of crap? The real question is she a piece of crap? And you have to be careful that you don't call someone crap who's actually clay. And that happens. And what happens a lot of times, even in couples that I counsel, is they start accusing each other of being crap. And I'm saying, actually, it's clay. That is something that has to be molded, has to be fashioned. And so, for example, right now with my 17-year-old sons, and for every young man that's watching me, I said to my sons, you're 17. This is not the time to be molding anybody. This is not the time to be fashioning anybody because you don't even know who you are. All these little girls you think are cute and chicks you're dating, it's all, at this point right now, it's all about, can you pick a good piece of clay? Do you have a good eye for clay? That is the question. If you see clay, do you know clay or do you know crap? That is the question. The evaluation is, can you pick a good piece of clay? And are you male or female? Yeah. And you have to be careful because if you date too much crap, you start thinking crap is clay. And so then there's crappy stuff that's happening, and you just assume, well, this is how a relationship is. But that's not how a relationship is. That's crap. And so you at the end of the day, it really is about molding. And so there is, and I'm working on it. I haven't even fully worked it out in my head. I'll have to come back another time and continue this crap versus clay analogy. But there are things that are clearly crap. And then there are things. There's a list I'm working on of how to know if your chick is a piece of crap. I'm keeping it safe. How to know if this dude is a piece of crap. That is a crappy thing to do. That is a clay thing to do. That's just a piece of crap thing to do because that is really the analysis. Because the worst thing to do is to take a piece of crap, start trying to mold it into clay. When you put crap in an oven, it makes the whole house stink. Woo, this is deep. And so right now, a part of the challenge when it comes to this thing of relationships is that we have to realize that it really is about my ability to evaluate, my ability to, and I have to be careful because how I play in practice is how I'm going to play in the game. And which leads me to a whole nother thing that bothers me, and that is just the fact that that as somehow as Christians we have been called, and to all the Christians, it's like we have been forced to overly focus on fruit and not root. The real question is it a root issue or is it a fruit issue? We can be so distracted when it comes to fruit. This happens when I'm having a session with a couple. It's like we're having a conversation, and what we're looking at is we're dealing with stuff that's fruit. It's like when my daughter was young. One of my daughters, when she was young, her favorite thing to do was, my daughter Kayla, one of her favorite things to do was to find the dandelions that were the white, not the yellow, but the white. That means that they're ready to seed. She loved to pick them up, make a wish, and blow. And we have pictures of her blowing the white dandelions. What that does is spreading the weed of dandelions around your whole lawn. Now, I could get a net and run around with a net and try to catch all of the white dandelions chasing the fruit, or I could find the roots and dig out the roots. Because if I don't deal with the root, the fruit will always be here. I'm just going to end up with more fruit if I don't deal with the root. And I think sometimes as Christians, we overly focus on fruit issues and not root issues. And we're almost boxed in a corner in which we are made to be so focused. And it really is, it's a sad thing. It's amazing what the PR job that the enemy has done on us, in which he has basically made Christians have to identify with the most conservative, far alt-right group that wants to control people. And so that if you are now at a place in which you have any love, any tenderness, any compassion, Paul says, make my joy complete by being like-minded, considering others better than yourselves. If you're a person that's that way in our current culture, you almost can't identify with Christians, because we are so overly represented by, and I don't know if that really is a true picture of who Christians really are, but you know, we've been boxed, especially here in America. We've been boxed into a group that believes in God and is even less tolerant. It's a sad thing. It's very annoying to me. I find myself annoyed that Christians who decided to support the president are unable to acknowledge the fact that maybe this wasn't the best choice. Maybe that I actually heard that there was someone who said, if you are against him, you're against God or against the will of God. It's amazing. It's a language that is just further divisive. It's not unifying. To believe that a president is God's choice, that requires for you to believe that democracy is a God-led structure. And I praise God for democracy. I'm glad we live in a democracy, but I don't know if a democracy is God's plan for leadership. And listen, when Paul said to submit to your leaders, Nero was ruling. So it's absolutely possible for there to be a bad world leader. I feel like we are somehow, we've lost our focus on who Jesus is and who our real leader is. And it's sad to me. Even these moments of when I slightly start to comment on the president or on the next leader or who the leader should be. Right now, in my city, in my area, they're about to have an election for mayor, and since I have a large congregation, different ones have talked to me about endorsing, and there's a part of me that feels like, as a human, as a man, as an African American man, I should have something to say, and certainly I'm going to vote. But I have to be careful. Every believer has to be careful that we don't overly focus on man's leadership. David said, I don't look to the hills for whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord. And I think any believer, any Christian who overly believes that any earthly leader is the answer, you have lost your perspective somehow. For you to believe that God is going to use a politician for his glory, you have lost your perspective. Somehow we have missed the fact that the answer is my relationship with the Lord. That Jesus comes and never really addresses what is happening in Roman culture. He says, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar and give to God what belongs to God. That even the belief for the disciples to say to Jesus, are you at this time going to restore the kingdom to Israel? And for Jesus to say, it's not for you to know the dates and times the Father has set by his own authority, but you'll receive power when the Holy Spirit comes upon you. It's because the Messiah was supposed to be not just a Christian leader, but he was supposed to be a national leader, a part of the rejection of Jesus was not just the disruption of the church, but it was that the Jews, the Israelites, were in slavery to the Romans, and they were looking for when the sons of Zebedee said, we want one of us to sit on your right hand and another to sit on your left hand in your kingdom, they weren't talking about heaven. They were talking about an earthly kingdom. They were expecting Jesus to be the son of David. They were expecting him to overthrow the rule to the Romans. That was the expectation because they were looking for an earthly kingdom. Anytime we overly begin to look for an earthly kingdom, anytime we begin to overly emphasize, as much as I know we want America to be a Christian nation, anytime any religious leader becomes overly dependent on earthly leadership, you have lost your perspective. You really have. Somehow you have missed it. If you believe that God has ordained someone to be president of the United States, you have somehow lost the idea, because the fact of the matter is that God can use good leaders and bad leaders. And was it the will of God for Nebuchadnezzar to be the king of Babylon? Certainly the Lord used Nebuchadnezzar to teach the children of Israel, but to go that far, it's something that really does rankle me, and it really does cause division within the body, especially between African Americans. And here I'm pastoring a congregation that is becoming more and more diverse, and a part of what divides us is the perspective of the far right, white, Christian, evangelical, their perspective. And then as an African American, as a believer, we find ourselves in this very difficult middle place. And just something else that further bothers me, that we are unable to recognize that perhaps, sure, we wanted a president that shared our values, but our inability, for a Christian leader's inability to say, but I can acknowledge that there are definitely some immaturities. I can acknowledge that this guy is not as presidential as we expected him to be. I'm disappointed in his response to some things. The inability to acknowledge that is a sad statement on where we are in the body today. And just part of the things that bother me currently right now in the world today, and things that we've got to do better, things that we have got to focus on and push towards to be the best that we can be. And so I'm bothered that this whole natural hair thing was just supposed to, when I was first sold on this, the hair, we're going natural, my expectations of growth was just, and I'm bothered by the whole weave thing. That's just bothersome to me. It's crazy to me. Somebody 27 wearing a wig. I'm blown away by that. When I was growing up, black girls had hair, man. They took care of their hair. I went into one of the Korean stores to get a comb and 2 whole rolls of just wigs. And I just was kind of like, this is out of control. This really is crazy. There was a time when people that were 80 and 90 wore wigs. You know, your grandmama wore a wig. You didn't date a girl and she just straight had a wig. It's just, I don't know what's happened to us. I don't know where we're going. And you know, we got to get ourselves together when it comes to hair. I don't know if that's going to make the podcast, but it's just those kinds of things are things that really that bother me. They rankle me, and I feel like, you know, we have to do a better job of that. You know, I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed that I can't eat a burger every day. That's not a good thing. You know, I'm at a point now where burgers are good. Different burgers taste different ways, and I, you know, why can't we just? Why do we have to make the cows poison? Why does it have to be the case? Why can't we let them eat grass and just have some good cows so that I can just get a good burger? Why is that? It's stuff like that makes life challenging, but anyway, that's my time. That's my podcast today. Trust you enjoyed yourself. Hope you learned something, got some edification, and I will be back in another couple of weeks. Have some guests with me. Podcast, Pastor Andy. I'm out.